To this now, former SACP General Secretary Dr. Nzimande is now the new National Chairperson of the party. He's beaten his rival Gwebs Qonde with 266 votes against 148 votes. In fact, earlier in error I said Gwebs when it was in fact Gwebs Qonde who was contesting against Nzimande. Well, Solly Mapaila and David Masondo were uncontested for the party's new General Secretary for and a second Deputy General Secretary, respectively. The Election Commission-led ANC and SACP veteran George Mashamba made the announcement a while ago. Now, let's discuss this. We're now joined via Zoom by political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou. Dr. Ndou, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Nati. Good afternoon to the viewers at home. Thank you for having me.
Now, Dr. Ndou, Solly Mapaila takes over as General Secretary. I mean, what do you think is his most important task as he takes over?
Quite expected that Solly Mapaila would take over. Also based on the fact that he has been elected unopposed and he had a good favor from Dr. Nzimande. What one would expect from Solly Mapaila, firstly, would be to ensure that he built the structures of the SACP and, of course, make sure that the SACP has to grow and also grow the component of the alliance. Equally, I also expect to see Solly Mapaila getting a lot of support from the other people that is being elected with, and of course having to get a lot of guidance from Nzimande, who has now been elected as the chairperson of the alliance. The road for the SACP for me is still very long, because the SACP exists in order to deal with issues that are affecting the workers, issues that are affecting the poor. And I still want to see the SACP coming up with real programs that are there to benefit the vulnerable, the poor, and the workers in South Africa.
Now, let's look at Nzimande's legacy, at the helm of the SACP, 24 years. What would you say were his biggest achievements?
Well, Nzimande has always been that person who was always loved by the members of the SACP. Hence, he was always being re-elected into the position. The legacy for Nzimande for me is that he has been able to steer the ship of the SACP, even though we have not seen a lot of growth or tremendous growth on the part of the SACP. His role has always been to raise all the critical issues and relevant issues that the ANC would have to consider and look at. With the SACP in the alliance, you'd always be assured that all matters that appears to be at the center of society in South Africa, matters that are seen to be of real concern to ordinary citizens, would always be raised by the SACP. I have not seen tremendous growth with the structures of the SACP in many provinces. I have not seen the programs that were created to attract many people to go and join the SACP. And that for me has been a worrying factor in which I think Nzimande should have actually done better as the Secretary General of the party.
Now, your concerns have also been echoed, by many other structures, including its alliance partners, in terms of that lack of growth that we have not seen, within the SACP, with just 339,000 members. Is this party still relevant? I mean, if you look at what the country is currently facing, what should the new leadership then be focusing on as it grows its party and as it seeks its relevance?
Relevancy, in my view, is informed by the programs that the party is supposed to develop that must deal with issues affecting your own constituency. The Communist Party exists in order to deal with matters of the poor and the working class. And I don't see much of the work that the SACP does in advancing the interest of the poor and the working class. That then tells you and I that the task of the leadership that has been elected is to become relevant on the main objectives why the SACP exists in South Africa, develop programs that are aimed at addressing issues that are affecting the poor, the vulnerable, and the working class. And of course, all these challenges that we ordinary citizens have in South Africa, you would expect the SACP to be at the forefront of raising them in the alliance and also ensure that such issues are being properly addressed.
With, Dr. Nzimande now being at the chairpersonship role, what does that signify in terms of just his influence, within the party going forward? Because one would have expected to completely see new, young, fresh leadership.
It tells you two main things. One, for me, it says that it appears as if leadership in the party is actually being recycled, and they don't appear to be having new people who can come in and lead in the SACP. It might also mean that there are a lot of people that still have confidence in Blade Nzimande, and once he's now been elected as the chairperson, it will be very good that he will be working very closely with Solly Mapaila, so he will be available to assist Solly Mapaila where he could. My expectation is that as they elect other additional members of the SACP, then we should be able to see young people coming in, so that as these ones who are in the top leader departs, these people must then be able to fill the positions of leadership in the SACP. I also expect that to happen in the provinces and in the regions, because the relevance of the party is also informed by the fact that it should be able to attract young people within its ranks.
Let's just turn our focus very quickly on some of the utterances made by President Cyril Ramaphosa during the SACP Congress and conference. Coming out very strongly saying that he will not be intimidated, following the Phala saga. But also this is at the same time Kosatu saying that those, that are implicated, should be investigated for corruption or any other criminal element. So what can we make of, just some of these utterances made by President Cyril Ramaphosa, again, sticking his heels, digging them right in to say he will not be intimidated, he will not be stepping down?
Unati, as President Ramaphosa was speaking at the SACP Congress, there were some people who were marching at Tule House for his removal. And I think we're finding ourselves in a very, very tricky situation, in the sense that you have got a matter that is reported in court, you have got the law enforcement agencies investigating, and equally, you have got a society that is very anxious and eagerly waiting what next is supposed to happen. And the concerns of the ordinary people on the ground and those that appear to be having an interest on the matter can be justified. Justified because this is not an ordinary citizen. We're talking about the President of the Republic. And of course, on the other hand, he is saying that he's cooperating with the law enforcement agencies, but equally, there are those within the party and outside the ANC who have actually identified an opportunity to make sure that he actually gets out of power. What I would expect would be to see how the ANC then has to respond in order to be able to manage this situation. But equally, the president has to cooperate with the law enforcement agencies, and all of us have to adopt a very difficult attitude to wait for the law enforcement agencies to act, and then the next steps have to follow.
Dr. Ndou, let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really do appreciate your analysis. All right, political analyst there, Levy Ndou, just digging in terms of what is happening in the